Hare Krishna. So, we welcome you all to this reading session on Krishna book, chapter number 17 to 19. Since these chapters were very small, so we have combined them into a single reading session. And let's begin this discussion with this wonderful prayer from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit. Krishna, 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 He. Krishna, 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 He. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 pahi mam. Ram Raghav, Ram Raghav, Ram Raghav, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshav, Krishna Keshav, Krishna Keshav pahi mam. The Pranam Mantra of Srila Prabhupada. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So till now we had read in the chapter number 16 that Lord Krishna had told Kalia that you leave from here and you go to the ocean. So Kalia left with his those wives that are called Nagpatnis, and he went to the ocean. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that he was sent to the island near, which is today presently called as Fiji, and that place is called as Ramanik Dweep, which is near Fiji. So now we will study ahead from chapter number 17. So, extinguishing the forest fire, that's the title of this chapter. King Parikshit, after hearing of the chastisement of Kalia, inquired from Shukadev Goswami as to why Kalia left this beautiful land and why Garuda was so antagonistic to him. Shukdev Goswami informed the king that the island known as Nagalai was inhabited by serpents and that Kalia was one of the chief serpents there. Being accustomed to eating snakes, Garuda used to come to this island and kill many serpents at will. Some of them he actually ate, but some were unnecessarily killed. The reptile society became so much disturbed that their leader, Vasuki, appealed to Lord Brahma for protection. Lord Brahma made an arrangement by which Garuda would not create a disturbance. On each half moon day, the reptile community would offer a serpent to Garuda. The serpent was to be kept underneath a tree as a sacrificial offering to Garuda. Garuda was satisfied with this offering and therefore he did not disturb any other serpents. So, this is which the story proceeds ahead that Maharaj Parikshit now inquires from Shukdev Goswami that why, after all, Kaliya had come to stay in the Jamuna, and what was the reason that he specifically asked that Lord Krishna specifically told Kalia that Garuda will not disturb you because my footprints are present on your hoods. So what exactly was the situation that Kalia was so fearful of Garuda? So now the story is transpiring as follows: that Kalia used to live on Nagale, and it was the inhabited place of the serpents, and Garuda used to go there for eating serpents. But the whole community was so terrified that their leader Vasuki, he complained to Lord Brahma. So this patch up was created that they will offer one snake to Garuda on a half moon day, and therefore Garuda will not disturb the whole community. But gradually, and Kalia was one of the chief serpents on that place, Nagale. But gradually, Kalia took advantage of this situation. He was unnecessarily puffed up by the volume of his accumulated poison as well as by his material power, and he thought, why should Garuda be offered this sacrifice? He then ceased offering any sacrifice. Instead, he himself ate the offering intended for Garuda. When Garuda, the great devotee carrier of Vishnu, understood that Kalia was eating the offered sacrifices, he became very angry and rushed to the island to kill the offensive serpent. Kalia tried to fight Garuda and faced him with his many hoods and poisonous sharp teeth. Kalia attempted to bite him, and Garuda, the son of Tarkashya, in anger and with great force befitting the carrier of Lord Vishnu, struck the body of Kalia with his effulgent golden wings. Kalia, who is also known as Kadru's Sutta or the son of Kadru, immediately fled to the lake known as Kalia Hrida, which lay within the Yamuna river and which Garuda could not approach. So now this is the whole story that is being explained by Srila Prabhupada. And actually, Shukdev Goswami is explaining this to Parikshit Maharaj that Kalia did not want, he was very puffed up and he did not want Garuda to be given that sacrificial serpent. So he himself started eating that serpent. And when Garuda came to know that such thing is being uh, taking place for the past some time, Garuda came to attack Kalia. So here it is being told that Garuda was the son of Tarkashya, and Kalia's mother name is Kadru. That is, he's called Kadru Sutta. So Garuda immediately he came to attack Kalia, and to escape this attack, because we were not able to fight against Garuda, so Kalia took shelter of that lake where he was residing before this pastime had taken place. The previous chapter that we had read, that this lake which was called Kalia Hrida. So Kalia took shelter within the water of the Yamuna for the following reason. Since Garuda could not approach that place and Kalia knew this thing. So let's understand why. Just as Garuda went to the island of Kalia snake, that is Nagale, he also used to go to the Yamuna to catch fish to eat. So this is something astonishing that there is a single Vaishnava, that is Garudji, and he's so elevated that he is allowed to eat non-veg because that is the body he has. So he can eat snakes and fishes. So we cannot exercise this privilege, but Garuda is transcendental personality. So even if he eats some jiva or some organism like reptiles or fishes, they will be delivered, right? So here it is important to note that sometimes people feel that why Garud Dev is eating fish or snakes, it isn't it against the regulative principles. But yeah, that's the body he has, and as per his body, he is taking a diet, and there's nothing wrong in it. Rather, those living entities that he's eating, they are rather getting purified and delivered. So there was, however, a great yogi known as Shabri Muni who used to meditate within the water there and who was sympathetic with the fish. He asked Garuda not to come there and disturb the fish. Although Garuda was not under anyone's order, being the carrier of Lord Vishnu, he did not disobey the order of the great yogi. Instead of staying and eating many fish, he carried off one big fish who was their leader. So Shabri Muni was living there in the water of the Yamuna, and he was doing meditation in the water just to escape the distractions of the whole world. And he had some sympathy for the fish. So Garuda obeyed Shabri Muni, but in one instance, he had taken away one very big fish who was the leader of the whole community. So instead of staying and eating many fish, he carried off one big fish who was their leader. Shabri Muni was sorry that one of the leaders of the fish was taken away by Garuda, and thinking of their protection, he cursed Garuda with the following words: Henceforward, from this day, if Garuda comes here to catch fish, then I say this with all my strength, he will be immediately killed. So now Shabri Muni gave this curse to Garuda. This curse was known only to Kalia, and Kalia knew this fact that Garuda will not come to Jamuna lake. Kalia was therefore confident that Garuda would not be able to come there, and so he thought it wise to take shelter of the lake within the Jamuna. But Kalia's taking shelter of Shabri Muni was not successful. He was driven away from the Jamuna by Krishna, the master of Garuda. So Lord Krishna, who is the master of Garuda, he kicked him out of the Jamuna. It may be noted that Garuda is directly related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is so powerful that he is never subject to anyone's order or curse. Actually, the cursing of Garuda, who is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam to be of the stature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Bhagwan, was an offense on the part of Shaubri Muni. Although Garuda did not try to retaliate, the Muni was not saved from his offensive act against a great Vaishnava personality. Due to this offense, Shaubri fell down from his yogic position and afterwards became a householder, a sense enjoyer in the material world. The fall down of Shaubri Muni, who was supposed to be absorbed in spiritual bliss by meditation, is an instruction to the offender of the Vaishnavas. So here we can see that Shaubri Muni, out of his sympathy for the fishes, he cursed a Vaishnava, Garud Dev, and later on, because of this offense against Garud Dev, he fell from his yogic position. He came out of the water of Yamuna. This we learn in the Srimad Bhagavatam that he came out of the water of the Yamuna, and what did he do? He married 50 princesses and had 10 children, 100 children from each of them. Maybe I'm wrong, either 10 or 100 children from each of them. So total 5,000 children he had from those ladies. So therefore, it is said that one should be very careful while dealing with the Vaishnavas because Lord Garuda is actually in a confidential personality, a confidential, I would say, in, what to say, confidential person in Lord Vishnu's Leela. So when Krishna finally came out of Kalia's lake, he was seen by all his friends and relatives on the bank of the Yamuna. He appeared before them. He appeared before them, nicely decorated, smeared all over with chandan pulp, bedecked with valuable jewels and stones, and almost completely covered with gold. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, including the cowherd boys and men, the gopis, Mother Yashoda, Maharaj Nanda, and all the cows and calves, saw Krishna coming from the Yamuna, and it was as though they had recovered their very life. When a person regains his life, naturally he becomes absorbed in pleasure and joyfulness. So, when Lord Krishna had subdued Kaliya, he came back to the bank of the Jamuna, and everybody was so much happy and they felt as if their life had come back. And we had read in chapter number 16 that Lord Krishna, when he saw that all his members of Vrindavan and all the inhabitants of Vrindavan were in deep distress and anxiety, and they were on the verge of leaving their bodies. At that time, Lord Krishna started to loosen the grip of Kaliya, and then he subdued him. So they each in turn pressed Krishna to their chests, and thus they felt a great relief. Mother Yashoda, Rohini, Maharaj Nanda, and the cowherd men became so happy that as they embraced Krishna, they thought that they had achieved their ultimate goal of life. So they were so happy. Balram also embraced Krishna, but he was laughing because when everybody else had been so overwhelmed with anxiety, he had known what would happen to Krishna. All the trees on the bank of the Yamuna, along with all the cows, bulls, and calves, were full of pleasure because of Krishna's appearance there. The Brahmana inhabitants of Vrindavan immediately came with their wives to congratulate Krishna and his family members. And because Brahmanas are considered to be the spiritual master of society, they offered their blessings to Krishna and his family on account of Krishna's release. They also asked Maharaj Nanda to give them some charity on that occasion. Being so pleased by Krishna's return, Maharaj Nanda gave many cows and much gold in charity to the Brahmanas. While Nanda Maharaj was thus engaged, Mother Yashoda simply embraced Krishna and made him sit on her lap while she shed tears continuously. So here we see that Maharaj Nanda, he gave lot of donations on that day, being so happy that his son had returned, and simultaneously he Mother Yashoda just kept her son in her lap and she was crying profusely. So since it was almost night, all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, including the cows and calves, were very tired and they decided to take rest on the riverbank. In the middle of the night, while they were taking rest, there was suddenly a great forest fire, and it quickly appeared that the fire would soon devour all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. As soon as they felt the warmth of the fire, they immediately took shelter of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although he was playing just like their child, they began to say, "Our dear Krishna, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, our dear Balaram, reservoir of all strength, please try to save us from this all devouring and devastating fire. We have no shelter other than you. This devastating fire will swallow us all." Thus they prayed to Krishna, saying that they could not take any shelter other than his lotus feet. Lord Krishna, being compassionate upon his own town people, immediately swallowed up the whole forest fire and saved them. This was not possible. This was not impossible for Krishna because he is unlimited. He has unlimited power to do anything he desires. So till now we had read that this Shabri Muni was residing in the water of the Yamuna, and he had cursed Garudadev. So later on he fell down from his position, and when Lord Krishna came out, so everybody became very joyful, and all of them slept on the bank of the Yamuna because it was too late. But at night there was a forest fire, and everybody requested Lord that please save us, and then Lord swallowed the whole forest fire and saved all the inhabitants of Vrindavan. So we see that the inhabitants of Vrindavan have no other shelter apart from Lord Sri Krishna. And thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 17th chapter of Krishna extinguishing the forest fire. So this completes chapter number 17. It was a very small chapter. We'll move on to chapter number 18, that's entitled Killing the Demon Pralambasur. After extinguishing the devastating fire, Krishna, surrounded by his relatives, friends, cows, calves, and bulls, and glorified by his friends singing, again entered Vrindavan, which is always full of cows. While Krishna and Balaram were enjoying life in Vrindavan in the midst of cowherd boys and girls, the season gradually changed to summer. So we had read in chapter number 15 that the season was changing and it was the onset of summer. But now, after this Leela took place, after this pastime took place, now the season has changed from the summer started off. The summer season in India is not very much welcomed because of the excessive heat, but in Vrindavan, everyone was pleased because summer there appeared just like spring. This was possible only because Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are the controllers even of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, were residing there. In Vrindavan, there are many falls which are always pouring water, and the sound is so sweet that it covers the sounds of the crickets. And because water flows all over, the forest always looks very green and beautiful. So, the summer season, although it's very difficult, uh, especially in tropical countries and in India also, it's very difficult because the summer season is too harsh. Yet, because Lord Krishna and Balaram were residing in Vrindavan, therefore, the summer season it felt as if it is like the spring season. And now Shukdev Goswami is describing about how the different uh, aspects of uh, the spring season in I would rather say summer season of Vrindavan. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were never disturbed by the scorching heat of the sun or the high summer temperatures. The lakes of Vrindavan are surrounded by green grasses, and various kinds of lotus flowers bloom there, such as kahlar, kanj, and utpal. And the air blowing in Vrindavan carries the aromatic pollen of those lotus flowers. When the particles of water from the waves of the Yamuna, the lakes, and the waterfalls touch the bodies of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they automatically felt a cooling effect. Therefore, they were practically undisturbed by the summer season. Vrindavan is such a nice place. Flowers are always blooming, and there are even various kinds of decorated deer. Birds are chirping, peacocks are crowing and dancing, and bees are humming. The cuckoos there sing nicely in five kinds of tunes. The Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, blowing his flute, accompanied by his elder brother Balaram and other cowherd boys and cows, entered the most beautiful forest of Vrindavan to enjoy the atmosphere. They walked into the midst of newly grown leaves of trees whose flowers resembled peacock feathers. They were garlanded by those flowers and decorated with saffron chalk. Sometimes they were dancing and singing, and sometimes wrestling with one another. While Krishna danced, some of the cowherd boys sang, and others played on flutes. Some bugled on buffalo horns or clapped their hands, praising Krishna. Dear brother, you are dancing very nicely. Actually, all these boys were demigods descended from higher planets to assist Krishna in his pastimes. So we had also studied about this in chapter number 2, that Lord had rather chapter number 1, that when Lord Brahma and all the demigods had gone to pray to Lord Shirodaksha Vishnu, the message that was transmitted told all the demigods that please take birth in the families of the Jadu dynasty and in the area of Vraj. And these boys were actually demigods who were in the dress of the cowherd boys. So now we had also learned that they had accumulated such great amount of pious activities that they were able to associate with the Lord personally. The demigods, garbed in the dress of the cowherd boys, were encouraging Krishna in his dancing, just as one artist encourages another with praise. Up to that, Up to that time, neither Balaram nor Krishna had undergone the hair cutting ceremony, and therefore their hair was clustered like crow's feathers. They were always playing hide and seek with their boyfriends, or jumping or fighting with them. Sometimes, while his friends were chanting and dancing, Krishna would praise them. So initially, we read that the boys used to praise Krishna. Now, Krishna used to praise them. My dear Krishna, my dear friends, you are dancing and singing very nicely. The boys played at catching ball with fruits such as bale and amlak. They played blind man's buff, that is hide and seek, challenging and touching one another. Sometimes they imitated the forest deer and various kinds of birds. They joked with one another by imitating croaking frogs, and they enjoyed swinging underneath the trees. Sometimes they would play amongst themselves like a king and his subjects. In this way, Balaram and Krishna, along with their friends, played all kinds of sports and enjoyed the soothing atmosphere of Vrindavan, full of rivers, lakes, rivulets, fine trees, and excellent gardens filled with fruits and flowers. So, this is what Lord Krishna and his friends had a life which was completely free from all kinds of anxieties of studies, of office, of household work. They were simply having a great time in their life. So once, while the boys were engaged in the transcendental pastimes, a great demon of the name Pralambasur entered their company, desiring to kidnap both Balram and Krishna. So now, a demon by the name Pralambasur entered into their friends group, and he had disguised himself just like Putana had disguised herself, because demons are expert in these siddhis to take different shapes and forms of their body. So he took the shape of a cowherd boy, and he was wanted. What was his desire? He wanted to kidnap both Balram and Krishna. Although Krishna was playing the part of a cowherd boy, as a supreme personality of Godhead, he could understand everything, past, present, and future. So when Pralambasur entered their company, Krishna began to think how to kill the demon, but externally he received him as a friend. So then, since this boy was actually Pralambasur, Lord Krishna enacted as if he does not know, and he said, "Oh, my dear friend," he said, "it is very good that you have come to take part in our pastimes." Krishna then called all his friends and ordered them, "Now we shall play in pairs." So now it will be like team. So there are two teams, and there will be duels. Like we will be in pairs. We shall challenge one another in pairs. With this proposal, all the boys assembled together. Some of them took the side of Krishna, and some of them took the side of Balaram, and they arranged to play in duel. The defeated members in duel fighting had to carry the victorious members on their backs as a horse carries its master. They began playing and at the same time tended the cows as they proceeded to the Bhandirvan forest. So this Leela, this pastime is happening in the forest by the name Bhandirvan. The party of Balaram, accompanied by Sridham and Vrishab, came out victorious, and Krishna had to carry them on their backs through the Bhandirvan forest. So, in the party of Balaramji who were there, Sridham and Vrishab. So, before also we had learned few names of Lord Krishna's friends. So, initially we had learned the name of Sridhama, who is the younger brother of Srimati Radharani. Then we had learned the name of Subala, Subal Sakha, and then we had also learned the name of Stoka Krishna. So now we are learning one more name, that is Vrishabha. So Sridham, Vrishabha were on the side of Balaramji. And in Krishna's party, who was there? There was Pralambasur, and there was another person, another cowherd boy whose name was Bhadrasen, right? So the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna being defeated had to carry Sridama on his back, and Bhadrasen carried Vrishabha. Imitating their play, Pralambasur, who appeared there as a cowherd boy, carried Balaram on his back. So since Pralambasur was also participating in that play, so he carried Balramji, right? Because Krishna's team had lost the match. So Pralambasur was the greatest of the demons, and he had calculated that Krishna was the most powerful of the cowherd boys. In order to avoid the company of Krishna, Pralambasur carried Balaram far away. The demon was undoubtedly very strong and powerful, but he was carrying Balaram, who is compared to a mountain. Therefore, he began to feel the burden, and thus he assumed his real form. When he appeared in his real feature, he was decorated with a golden helmet and earrings and looked just like a cloud, with lightning carrying the moon. Balaram observed the demon's body expanding to the limits of the clouds, his eyes dazzling like blazing fire, and his mouth flashing with sharpened teeth. So now this demon was not able to carry the load of Balaramji, because Balaramji is himself the Shesh Nag who is supporting all the planets. So since he started feeling the burden, he assumed his real shape with very enormous dimension. And now, at first, Balramji was surprised by the demon's appearance, and he began to wonder, how is it that all of a sudden this carrier has changed in every way? But with a clear mind, he could quickly understand that he was being carried away from his friends by a demon who intended to kill him. Immediately, he struck the head of the demon with his strong fist, just like the king of heavenly planets strikes a mountain with his thunderbolt. Stricken by the fist of Balaram, the demon fell down dead, just like a snake with a smashed head, and blood poured from his mouth. So we see that this was the pastime which actually happened, that they had to carry. So Balramji is being carried by this cowherd boy, Pralambasur. So now, since he's having this, you see the plow in his hand. So Lord Krishna was carrying Sridama, and Bhadrasen, who was on the side of Lord Krishna, he carried Vrishabha. So now Balramji, when he understood, he immediately gave him a blow of his fist on the head of the demon, and his helmet went flying into the air, as we see over here, and he lost his life. So just one blow and he's gone. When the demon fell, he made a tremendous sound, and it sounded as if a great hill were falling upon being struck by the thunderbolt of King Indra, as if like lightning strikes a mountain. Such a great and tumultuous sound happened. All the boys then rushed to the spot. Astonished by the ghastly scene, they began to praise Balaram with the words, "Well done, well done." All of them then embraced Balaram with great affection, thinking that he had returned from death, and they offered their blessings and congratulations. All the demigods in the heavenly planets became very satisfied and showered flowers on the transcendental body of Balaram, and they also offered their blessings and congratulations for his having killed the great demon Pralambasur. So before this pastime had happened, Lord Balaram had killed one demon by the name Dhenukasur, and this is the second one whose name is Pralambasur. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 18th chapter of Krishna, killing of the demon Pralambasur. And this is the last chapter for today. It's also a one page chapter. So, chapter number 19, Devouring the Forest Fire. So, initially, also, we had read that Lord Krishna had swallowed the forest fire, but at that time, there were all the inhabitants of Vrindavan there. But in this chapter, it's a different context that the cows of the Lord will will be saved by the Lord from the forest fire. Not all the inhabitants of Vrindavan will be present. So let's read this chapter, chapter number 19. While Krishna and Balaram and their friends were engaged in the pastimes described above, the cows, being unobserved, began to wander off on their own, entering farther and farther into the deepest part of the forest, allured by fresh grasses. The goats, cows, and buffalo traveled from one forest to another and entered the forest known as Ishikatavi. So they entered into a particular forest which is named here Ishikatavi. This forest was full of green grass and therefore they were allured. But when they entered, they saw that there was a forest fire and they began to cry. On the other side, Balram and Krishna, along with their friends, could not find their animals and they became very much aggrieved. They began to trace the cows by following their footprints as well as the path of eaten grass. So Lord Krishna and his friends, they started looking for the cows who had lost their way into the Ishikatavi forest, and they found the path by their footprints and the areas where the grass had been eaten. All of the boys were fearing that their very means of livelihood, the cows, were now lost. When searching out the cows in the forest, they themselves became very tired and thirsty. Soon, however, they heard the crying of the cows. Krishna began to call the cows by their respective names with great noise. Upon hearing Krishna calling, the cows immediately replied with joy, just like an animal or a cow responds back to human voice. So the cows immediately responded to Krishna. But by this time, the forest fire had surrounded all of them, and the situation appeared to be very fearful. The flames increased as the wind blew very quickly, and it appeared that everything movable and immovable would be devoured. All the cows and the boys became very frightened and they looked towards Balaram and Krishna the way a dying man looks at the picture of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So they they wanted that Lord save them in this situation. They said, my dear Krishna, you and Balaram are very powerful. We are now burning from the heat of this blazing fire. Let us take shelter of your lotus feet. We know you can protect us from this great danger. Our dear friend Krishna, we are your intimate friends. It is not right that we should suffer in this way. We are all completely dependent upon you, and you are the knower of all religious life. We do not know anyone except you. The personality of Godhead heard the appealing voices of his friends, and casting a pleasure glance over them, he began to answer. By speaking through his eyes, he impressed upon his friends that there was no cause for fear, and he assured them, "Don't worry." Then Krishna, the supreme mystic, the powerful personality of Godhead, immediately swallowed up all the flames of the fire. So that Lord Krishna had done it previously, while he saved all the inhabitants of Vrindavan, he now saved all the cows and boys from the imminent danger. So we see over here that he again swallowed the forest fire and he saved all of them. The cows and boys were thus saved from imminent danger. Out of fear, the boys were almost unconscious, but when they regained their consciousness and opened their eyes, they saw that they were again in the Bhandir forest with Krishna, Balaram, and the cows. So, this whole pastime, it happened in the Bhandirvan forest. So, as we had discussed before previously, that there are 12 forests in Vraj. Vrindavan is one of them. When Lord used to live previously in Gokul, that was Mahavan, and now this whole pastime has transpired in Bhandirvan. They were astonished to see that they were completely free from the attack of the blazing fire, and the cows were saved. They secretly thought that Krishna must be not an ordinary boy but some demigod. So they still thought, they're not sure, but they were thinking that Krishna is Pakka, some not an ordinary boy. In the evening, Krishna and Balaram, along with their boys and cows, returned to Vrindavan, playing their flutes. As they approached the village, all the gopis became very joyous. Throughout the day, the gopis used to think of Krishna while he was in the forest. And in his absence, they were considering one moment to be like 12 years. So, thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 19th chapter of Krishna devouring the forest fire. So, we'll close our discussion for this, all the three chapters today here. So, we wish you all the best for tomorrow's exam, and our exam will be conducted at 8:30 p.m. tomorrow. So, wish you all the best. हरे कृष्णा शील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल